What's up, guys? How you guys doing? Welcome back to another episode. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Woo, guys! I'm in my hometown. I'm visiting family for a little bit here. Hometown is Edmonton, Alberta, aka Deadmonton. It's nice to come back though, man. You know, when you come back here, you kind of like, I don't know, man. You kind of remember like why you left. But like in a positive way, you know, like not in a negative way where it's like, oh man, like why am I here? Because obviously, like you don't live there anymore, you know. But it's like that nostalgic feeling, you know, where you're kind of just like for example, I'll drive by like certain like places, and I'm like, oh man, I remember when I was like walking by here, I would like think about, you know, going to film school in Vancouver, or oh man, I remember like walking by here, and I would like want to. I don't know, I think about my ex-girlfriend or whatever. And like these little moments like add up, and it's like why I left this place, you know? So it's really cool to come back here and you kind of get reminded of like why you're doing what you're doing, you know, because you do easily forget that kind of stuff. Yeah, so that's cool. I'm here for my sister's graduation. She graduated. So yeah, flew down here and hung out with the family yesterday, and just, yeah, man, it's sweet, you know? It's good to see everyone. It's different when you don't like live with your family and stuff, you know. It's when you come back, it's nice to see them. And it's weird, man. Like when you leave your family, it's almost like you get like closer to them. You know what I mean? When you're not like surrounded by them all day, it's kind of like you get like closer to them to some extent. I don't know. Maybe I'm just like speaking out of my ass, or maybe that's just me. But yeah, man, it's weird. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, man. What the heck? So look, I'm not really into politics at all. You know, I'm not a politic guy. I don't really follow along any of that kind of stuff. Like when Donald Trump was elected, I was just like, oh, okay, well, I don't know. Everyone's hating on him. Like, whatever, that sucks. I'm just gonna leave that over there. But I remember I saw the Tony Awards, and Robert De Niro comes out blazing. He's just like, fuck Trump. And I was just like, whoa, shit. Like that was intense, man. And so I was looking on Twitter at like a lot of people, and it was really crazy how a lot of people are with Donald Trump now. Like, you know, like from when I first saw it, like it was just very like, you know, like it seemed like the whole world was against him, at least on social media. And I don't know, man, just like from what I'm seeing, it's definitely starting to pick up on the other side. But Robert De Niro, I love you, so, you know, I always got your back. Dude, Infinity War brought in $2 billion in 2 weeks, I think, right? I think it was 2 weeks. Just wrap your fucking head around that real quick. In 2 weeks, the movie costed, I think, $300 and like something million to make, and in 2 weeks they just skyrocket, like they just like quadrupled their fucking profit. That's insane, man. And the thing is too, is there's so many little movies that branch off from that. Like that's the genius of this, right? There's so many things that branch off from it, like Black Panther, you know, you got Spider-Man, you got Iron Man, you got like Thor, you got all these movies, and it's, oh man, it's crazy. And I'm telling you right now, mark my words, like in Hollywood moving forward, I think what you're going to start to see is a lot of spin-offs. So I think we're already seeing that with Fast and the Furious, right? You got like, you know, you got The Rock and Jason Statham. They're doing their own thing called like Hobbs or whatever. It's like a spin-off from Fast and the Furious. And yeah, man, you're going to see a lot of big like blockbuster hits start to do this now, because I mean, why not, right? It's like, it's obviously the way to make the money. So that's, yeah, man, it's fucking crazy. You know what I'm really excited about out of all those superhero movies though? Because I'm a huge Jason Momoa fan, and I really don't think that Justice League did the justice, no pun intended, for Jason Momoa as Aquaman. So I'm really excited for that, man. I'm excited to see how that goes, because I know he's getting his own movie, and dude, it'd be sweet if like you know what I mean, like if we could have like, I gotta stop saying like so much, sorry guys, if we could have like Damien Chazelle, you know, direct that movie, or, you know, some dude, man, remember when Christopher Nolan directed the Batman movies? Like, those were so good, so classic, man. That's what happens when you have a really, that's like the difference between like a genius director, like almost like an artist, you know. That's not, well, all directors are artists, but like that's like he's like iconic, man, you know. Martin Scorsese is directing, I guess, let me look this up, actually. I'm not even too sure if that's real here. Martin Scorsese directing, this is why I need a person here, directing the Joker. That's what he's doing. He's playing the Joker, or no, he's directing the Joker. And apparently Joaquin Phoenix is to play the Joker. And let me tell you something, you put those two in a room together, you're getting something serious, man, coming out of that. So yeah, I'm excited for that. But I guess at the same time, they're releasing a Jared Leto Joker as well, which is like, okay. They're just gonna have like they should start doing that, actually. They should start having like, you know, like two characters, two movies come out at the same time, and like who's the better movie, you know? I don't know. Maybe not. Anyways, guys, my guest on today is he's a great guy, man. His name is Alex, and he's an actor from Australia, and he moved to Los Angeles to pursue acting. And it's really cool to find an actor that has an extremely high IQ about the art itself, not about the industry. There's two different things. There's a lot of people that are really business savvy in this industry, and they understand like how things work, you know, networking, whatever, and they touch up a lot on this. But like this guy's very savvy in terms of the art itself and like why certain actors are certain ways. You know what I mean? And if you're not acting, you shouldn't change like who you are. And there's a great quote at the end of this podcast. Make sure you listen to the entire thing, because the ending of this, he says something. We actually stopped the podcast and we had like a little chat privately, and I was like, whoa, we got to go back and do this again in front of the people, man, because you got to say what you just said, because it was mind-blowing, man. It was really mind-blowing. And he also talks about green cards. You know, for a lot of people listening, a lot of Canadians and a lot of Australians and people in New Zealand or wherever you are in the world, I know you think you have to move to LA. I know you think you do, you know. We kind of touch up on that kind of stuff. We touch up on how the best way to get a green card, you know, if you should get it, talking about an O1 visa compared to anything else, getting an agent, the difference between an agent and a manager, all that kind of fun stuff. So guys, please help me welcome Alex. How you doing?
Hey man, yeah, good. What about yourself?
Good, man, good. Thanks for taking the time to do this, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you for having me on.
So what's going on? You're where are you living right now?
I'm in LA at the moment. I'm in my study, in my apartment.
Okay, sweet. And
Yeah.
you're there for obviously the film industry, yeah?
Yeah.
So I checked out your IMDb, and
Are we recording right now, by the way?
Yeah, is that cool?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
I do
cool.
the same thing. I do the same thing with mine.
Okay. Are you using like Ecamm right now to record this?
No.
What do you do to record your podcast episodes?
I just use my laptop.
Oh, sweet. Wow, nice.
Yeah, usually my guests are in LA, or if I'm back in Sydney, I've done the interviews in person. I've had to do a few on Skype, but yeah, not many, not enough that I figured I'd go the full route and get all the mics and equipment that you seem to have.
Right. So you're from Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
And how did you... So here's my thing, dude, is I'm in Canada right now.
Mm-hmm.
And like for
You're
me...
Canadian, right?
I'm Canadian, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in Vancouver right now, which is... I mean, it's... at the time, I didn't feel like I was so lucky to have this city. Like, now that I know the industry a little bit, I'm just kind of like, oh, shit, this is a great city to be in, obviously.
Yeah.
But... in terms of from like Sydney, how did you get to LA then? Like, how did you make that jump?
Well, I think the biggest hurdle for a lot of Australians or for a lot of foreign actors coming to America is the visa thing. Yeah, so from the work that I'd done in Australia, I just leveraged as much as I could, and I put together a strong O1 visa case. And then so I got my visa. I got management initially, who agreed to sponsor me, and then I got some interest from some self-tape auditions, and then decided to move over. And yeah, I've been here back and forth for like 2 years, and then about 6 months ago, I applied for my green card for extraordinary ability, like as an actor, and then I premium processed it. So I got approved pretty quickly, and then that came through. I got that in the mail like the other day.
Oh, you got your green card.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
dude, congrats! It's awesome.
Thanks.
So you're living there full time now.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, at least like if you want to keep your green card, you have to keep paying taxes to the US. So I don't think it would make much sense now for me to go back to Australia.
Right.
Because I just have years of taxes. Even if I'm not living here, you have to pay them. So I think it just makes sense for me to be here.
Do you think the move is to stay there then in LA?
Yeah. I mean, the main reason, like doing the green card, was a bit of a last minute decision, mainly because I was nearly cancelled on a job. So I thought that because there's been some resistance to having an O1 visa from some casting directors and from production and some studios. So they like to have either given you the O1 specifically, and you not just be on a generic management sponsored one,
right?
Or you be a citizen or have a green card or whatever. So the scare of like going through the process of booking that job and then nearly getting cancelled, I was like, okay, I should just bite the bullet and get the green card.
Right.
It was a bit of a rash decision, but I'm like, well, this is what I'm doing at the moment, so I'll just stick with it, I guess.
Yeah. Sweet, dude. That's wicked, man. That's so cool. And you're, obviously you developed like an acting like thing in Sydney, right? Like you obviously developed like wanting to be an actor in Sydney.
Like, is that where I got the acting bug, basically?
Yeah,
pretty much. Unfortunately, that's where I got hit. Pretty much like from a young age, I sort of knew that it was what I was interested in. I went through a lot of periods where I questioned it, and didn't pursue it at all, and steadfastly pursued other things. But then I just could have sort of kept being given opportunities, and then there was a period. I think it was the decision for whether I was going to accept graduate jobs from that I got from university, or like some acting work. And even though the acting work is obviously more short term, I figured that the other stuff could wait, or it didn't make sense to sort of jump into that corporate life, I guess, so young.
Yeah, that makes sense, man. I mean, at the end of the day, you want to do what you want to do, right? So that's just like a right there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just like the situation for how I decided to get my green card. It was just like in that moment, it was like a trigger on one day, on one particular day, after having gone through a lot of other hurdles or whatever. And then you finally make the decision, even though I had been thinking about it on and off for the previous year. But that was just the turning point. And then I think that similarly, like 2 or 3 years beforehand, the turning point was the same with deciding to, I guess, go into the industry, or at least that'd be my full-time thing or my full-time pursuit.
Yeah. Wow, that's wicked, dude. That's so cool. So you were saying, I just want to like talk a little bit about the O1 visa, because I'm sure there's a lot of listeners that are from Canada or Australia or around the world. So in America, just to clarify, when you get your O1 visa, that still doesn't mean that you're going to like go out for auditions and land auditions, because they prefer you to have a green card. Is that correct?
I think that's the case now. So right. I do know that, like, at least when I came over, sorry, I'll just turn off my email. I think that I'm still getting all of these like privacy update notification things. I don't know if you've been getting those as well.
From Instagram?
No, from every company. There's been some change where there's been privacy changes or anything. That's irrelevant, not very interesting. Maybe it's just an American thing. I don't know if they do it up in Canada too. So it's called the visa for O1 visa for extraordinary ability, and it's like how, for instance, it's like the type of visa that Justin Bieber is on, and it's basically if you have, it's really like there is a high threshold, but it's expensive. Like I think it's like around 6 to 7,000 US, which is around 10,000 Australian. And a lot of people that actually maybe need, to come to the US for other reasons, for political asylum or whatever, that's just not within their means. So it's a visa of privilege. I had the means to do it because of like some acting and modeling work, and because of just like what I'd saved up. So yeah, but even still, even though it allowed me to come to the country, for other people I know, they came over on O1s, and yeah, their reps were telling them that there was more resistance to it, and that they needed to get their green cards. I was in the fortunate position where that wasn't really the case. I think maybe because I had good relationships with my reps.
When you say reps, you mean
reps meaning manager and agent.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry if that wasn't clear. It's weird as actors, you become really specific and you assume that everyone else knows what you're talking about. But
yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, I thought you just meant like a lawyer that got you the green card, like your reps.
No. The lawyer doesn't really do anything aside from like prepare.
Right.
They're not involved in your career in any way. They get you, like, at least an immigration lawyer. I mean, once you get to the position where you need a lawyer definitely plays a significant role in negotiating deals, definitely beyond what sometimes an agent can provide. Like I know someone who's on a series, and they had never had a lawyer before, even though they'd worked quite a lot, and their agent negotiated a pretty decent deal for the show, but they got a lawyer on board, and the lawyer negotiated a deal that got them like an extra like $10K an episode.
Wow.
Which is pretty crazy. But then the lawyer takes a bigger cut of that.
Of course, yeah.
So, I mean, that's
kind of like hit and miss, like whatever. Yeah, I remember like when I was like my first year here, I was like, okay, I'm kind of feeling out the industry and stuff and whatever. I'm from Canadian, yeah, but I'm from Edmonton, Alberta, and then I moved to Vancouver, just because it's like our biggest film industry city here. Yeah.
I've got a lot of Aussies move there because it's so much easier for Australians to move there for the visa thing.
Right.
It's like part of the Commonwealth, so they get a work visa, like a generic work visa.
Yeah.
Pretty easily, I think for like $200.
Yeah, dude, it's pretty sad how many Australian friends I've like said bye to, because after the 2 years is up, they're like, all right, see you, and then
you can't renew it.
I don't know, man. Like I had a friend, and she's living in LA right now too, and the reason why she left Vancouver was because her time was up. The visa was expired, right? I think you can renew it like one more time, but that's it.
Well, that's like the tipping point. Like it's like you get a timeline and you have to make a decision. It's like, well, do I really want to commit to another 2 years? Like, what are the implications for me? Maybe tax-wise, life-wise, whatever. So sometimes those timelines are really good because they force you to make a decision and move forward or change track or change strategy or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It sucks that there's like it sucks that it's like bigger in certain parts of the world. You know what I mean? Like, just like being from, I don't know how Sydney's industry is for the film industry, but I can't imagine it's as big as Vancouver and LA.
No. Apparently it's pretty much dead, unfortunately, which is really sad, mainly for the crew, I think. I mean, actors in Australia generally always have really spotty careers where they work sporadically, but crew generally work fairly consistently. And I just saw a video last night that there was a guy being interviewed by our Equity Alliance, and he's had worked for the past 25 years full time. I think in production design, maybe I might be telling a lie, but he worked in all the blockbusters that have been filmed there, some really big Australian films as well and TV shows. And then in the past year, he's simply been unemployed. Like there's just no production, so he's having to relocate his family to the UK. To find work, and a lot of people, I think, apparently doing the same. And the same with actors as well. Like I know a lot of Australians that are moving. Either obviously LA has always been like a destination, but they're moving to Canada too.
Yeah.
So there's more competition for you there.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah. Have you ever I'm not too sure. I've checked out your IMDb.
Mm-hmm. How did you come across? So
I messaged you on Instagram. I contacted you. My buddy Joey, not too sure if you know who he is. He's like, hey, because dude, I was going off of like, I'm the first actor to have a podcast. This is fucking awesome. And then I came across Dak Shepard and like this Mark Maron guy. And then Joey sent me, I guess he found you on Instagram or something like that. And he sent me you. He's like, oh, there's another actor with a podcast. I was like, fuck sakes.
Yeah, we're not that unique. You think you're really special, but then you're like, oh, it's a couple of others. Yeah, but it depends on what your focus is. Like, that's interesting though. I mean, that's really cool. What's your friend's name? Joey.
His name's Joey Monroe, but his Instagram is Watch Joey.
Okay, all right, cool.
Yeah,
I'll make sure to check him out. Maybe we've like liaised before. But that's the cool thing about social media as well, right? Like,
so connected, dude.
Yeah.
So
and
connected.
collaborators are able to reach out with one another and help each other and stuff. So I think that's like obviously the biggest benefit to it. Otherwise, it's I don't love it.
Well, what I like about you. So I mean, if you checked out my Instagram account, you'll notice that like I got like all my following or whatever from creating like Instagram comedy skits and just like creating just like internet stuff. Like I wasn't like on something and like I got a massive following from being on a show. Whereas you, it seems like that's what happened for you. Like you got a following from like film and TV.
Yeah, primarily I think. Interestingly, like I don't know if it's like an algorithm thing or something. This is a bit of an aside, but I tend to notice that if I don't post for a while, I'll get heaps of followers. And then a day that I post, like if I legitimately want to share something that I've been working on or I'm with friends and I want to post something, I lose followers. So I don't know if that's just, I don't understand if that's how Instagram works, whatever. But I think that, I mean, another pattern, I guess, with how people build their following is that once you have a following, it's easier to then continue to build because people follow you because you have followers. So, but definitely the main way by which I've built, I guess, an audience is through stuff on TV, which is cool. And that's like the benefit of social media, because then you get to have an audience where you can directly then create your own content and tailor it to them and share it with them and have a little bit more control over things. Right.
And so your content that you want to create is the podcast. Is that correct?
No, not primarily actually. That was one of the things, that's one of the things that I do. But the main stuff is, I mean, I'm not like especially inspired by a lot of the projects that are available to actors in my age group or my type at the moment.
Right.
So once you cut out a lot of the, stuff that you don't want to do, and then there's a lot of stuff that maybe isn't within your reach, it just becomes like common sense to create your own projects. I mean, that's like a pretty universal thing in the industry now anyway. But particularly with me, it's just been a combination in the past year of like short form content, and then in the next year and in the next couple of months, I'm moving more into long form content too, which is cool.
Nice. Like you want to make like YouTube sketches, or like what do you mean?
So in the past year, I made a mockumentary series which was distributed on Funny or Die. So that was around 35 minutes of content, like split up into 7 episodes. And then after that, I made a short form series with a mate of mine, one of my closest friends in LA, Joel Nix. He directed it. Called Masculinity in Crisis, and that was sold through Amazon in the US and the UK, and that was about like only 8.5 minutes of content. And then recently I shot a short film which won't be released online. We've been speaking, it might be, but like through specific distributors. And that short, I guess, is hopefully a seed for what might end up being a feature. But I'm also in the next couple of months with Joel, who directed the Amazon Masculinity series. We're developing a feature together.
That's wicked, dude.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, me and Joey, we actually just finished creating our first short film, and I think we just got approved on a grant for it and stuff. And
Sweet.
Yeah, dude, it's coming along. It's coming along nicely. Just because like what we're used to making, right, is just like 1 minute like sketches. Right?
Yeah, I mean that's just like working within your own means too. Like it makes sense and it's responsible. Otherwise, You don't know until you are really confident in your own voice. There's no point like spending a bunch of money on like 2 hours of content where you don't know exactly what it is yet. So I think that
Yeah.
that's the greatest breeding ground for short form stuff,
Hmm.
is to figure that out, I
Right.
think.
What I was gonna ask you your training, because for me, like just even making those like comedy skits and like going off on that stuff, it's kind of forced me to. So basically, after I made those comedy skits, man, I wanted to be like just taken, I guess, seriously as this actor. I kind of had this like
Mm.
ego in me that was just like I want to be taken seriously as like a real actor, you know. And so I stopped. I stopped making it completely, and that's kind of like how I started making this podcast because I wanted to just get like my like a personality across,
Yeah.
whatever. But just recently, I mean, I finished making the short film, and I didn't like my character I played in the short film. I just felt like it was just like not really something that I love playing. And what I did like about making those Instagram comedy skits is I was playing. I don't know, man. I was having so much fun with it. It was so much fun being the characters that I was playing in those sketches. So that kind of forced me to actually just last Friday I signed up for a improv comedy class. And I'm taking, I have my first class tomorrow, but yeah, I'm super stoked about it, man, because I've had literally just like auditioning training, scene study, whatever it is for the past like 2.5 years. So what's your training like?
Yeah, my training, I guess, is a little bit unconventional, especially compared to a lot of Australian actors. I didn't go to acting school. There was a part of me that I guess wanted to it was only after I started actually auditioning and started acting, and then the people that I was sort of going to audition class with, they'd all just finished like at the best drama schools in Australia, and I realized how much better they were than me. Um, but so I went to, after high school, I went to university and I did a law degree combined with a BA in history. And I chose to do that because I didn't think that acting school would really provide me with life skills. And then when I started acting, I realized obviously training is incredibly important if you want to have a long career. And theater in particular, like gives you like a really good access to emotions. It helps your voice. Obviously, it just gives you access to play a range of characters. And then also like it gives you access to the full range of your emotions so you can portray the entirety of the human experience. So initially when I was in Sydney, I basically just did a lot of audition classes, which was sort of scene study-esque, with a guy who had studied at NIDA and had worked as an actor. And he had spent a lot of time in LA. So he was bringing a lot of like tips and stuff from the LA acting teachers. And then I think a tipping point in my training was about maybe 2.5 years ago. I did a masterclass with a director called Kim Farron. She directed a movie called Strangerland with Nicole Kidman that was screened at Sundance, I think, in 2015. And then she's currently doing a movie in Sydney with Numi Rupace and Luke Evans. And she had studied with Eric Morris. So Eric Morris is this old school acting teacher who wrote a book called No Acting Please. He does a lot of, his main thing is that like you have to experience what the character is experiencing, which is basic Stanislavski stuff. But particularly his thing is that you need to use stuff from your own life in order to access what the character is going through. And you can use your own imagination, but it just needs to be really heightened. But it's only going to be effective, and the performance is only going to be alive and impactful if you're actually feeling it. So it goes against the adage that you can just simply act your way through it or pretend. So I think that was really good because it frees you up if you use, I realized it frees you up if you use like stimuli from that. And that was from the Kim workshop. And then when I went to LA, I studied with Eric for a couple of months. He's pretty old now. He's pretty eccentric. I don't know if you've seen the show Barry with Bill Hader from SNL on HBO. It's about like a hitman that wants to become an actor.
Oh, I actually listened to the podcast with Bill Hader, and he was talking about it.
Yeah. Well, there's an acting teacher in that played by Henry Winkler, I think Fonzie from Happy Days, and I'm pretty sure that character is based on Eric Morris.
Wow.
Yeah, in a funny way, because they make fun of it how
Right.
ridiculous it is. Like you have to do ridiculous exercises and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
And then recently, I think it's just like a testament to how you don't need to be ridiculous and indulgent in order to access a performance that's effective and truthful. In the past like 6 months or so, I've been studying with a teacher called Lisa Robertson, on and off. That she was a protege of Larry Moss. So it's primarily just instead of personalizing it and then just sort of connecting it to your own life and bringing the text to you, it involves a combination. It's some of that, but primarily building the given circumstances so that you're, really serving the text and serving the character. And that involves a lot of imagination, I think. But again, it's a testament to how in both instances you need to have a really heightened sense of empathy in order to be, I guess, a good actor.
Yeah. Wow. That's true though.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it's true. That's cool, man. So basically, you're just like, and I don't want to like call any like shots on you at all. But you were like,
No,
when,
no,
you,
no,
when you
not at
first
all.
got into acting, you were kind of just like, oh, like I'm fucking good looking. I'm just gonna get into this, whatever. And then you saw all these kids, and you're like, oh shit, like this is hard work.
Actually, I mean, because I'd always been told like I was good or whatever at school, and I did it as a subject in high school, and I did really well at it. And so yeah, there was some naivety with like how much craftual development a person needed. But my first thing ever, like I did like a student film, and then a director who was happened to be teaching at the school that it screened at saw me in it and cast me in an independent film. And so we went through a rehearsal and development process with that, and I was sort of acting opposite a really experienced stage and screen actor that had gone to one of Australia's best acting schools. And so I realized then that I definitely needed to train. So that was like 2 or 3 years into uni when I was like 21. I had that realization, and it was before I got an agent and before I started pursuing it. And then I thought I'll just like do a few classes and just sort of put my toe in the water a little bit. And um, again, it was confirmed. That's when I started doing classes alongside like a bunch of other trained actors who were getting auditions. I was like, okay, right. So as soon as I finish law school, I'm going to go to acting school. But then through those classes and stuff, I ended up getting an agent, and I just went on some auditions sort of for practice and thinking I wouldn't get anything. Because I was still like, I'll still finish law school and then I go to acting school straight after I graduate, which was ridiculous. It's like 8 years of study, 8 years of university, and you end up with 3 bachelor's degrees. So stupid. And then I ended up getting a show, so that sort of delayed or changed those plans. And then I was like, well, it makes sense to go to LA because I don't really want to be in Australia. And I had management, I got management and stuff. So I was like, I'll train in LA, and I'll do the typical like.
How old were you when you moved to LA?
24.
Okay,
So I'm 26 now.
cool. Yeah, same age as
So
me.
yeah, yeah.
That's cool, man. Yeah. So, how quickly did you get management in LA?
So I'd come off the thing in Australia, and then so I got management fairly quickly, and I was like sending across auditions and stuff via self tapes for a while, and then for about a year before I actually came here in person for the first time, and then I didn't book anything for those first couple of months, but then I got a job back in Australia, and I didn't think that I would stay in America or go back. I was like, I'll go back to Australia. I'll do this little job, and then maybe I'll reevaluate entirely.
What kind of job was it?
It was a theatre show in Sydney,
Cool.
and then I ended up booking I got new management while I was back in Sydney. I got new management in the US because it was clear that it just really wasn't working out with my initial representatives who had sponsored me for my visa and stuff. So I got new management, and then I booked an indie film off a self-tape, which was like the first audition with them. So I used my return flight and went back to the US, and then
film that indie film.
in LA, yeah.
Yeah.
And then that was like, okay, and then I'll start, and then I started getting more callbacks and better feedback and a little bit of work, and then
Gets addicting, hey?
Yeah, totally, totally.
Yeah.
And then that's obviously the stuff that keeps you going, like little bites. Naomi Watts talks about that. She was like, it wasn't just like 10 years of like nothing. It was like little bites that keep you going.
Yeah.
And for every person, like their definition of a little bite is different. So you just have to sort of make a decision for yourself whether that's going to really satiate your hunger for creativity and being valued as a part of a project, as an employee and as an artist.
Right. Yeah. So you're in LA. You did this indie film, and then you started like getting more feedback, and you're still with the same agent that got you that indie film, correct?
I didn't have an agent, so I had a manager when I got that indie film, and then I got an agent really short after. In addition to that, so have you had like the manager agent distinction on your podcast before?
No, dude. I have no idea what the difference between a manager and an agent is.
I guess.
Well, I do kind of because I saw Entourage, the show
right.
Entourage.
Yeah. I mean, that is like a good example. Like a manager has fewer clients, an agent has more. And I compare it to a property developer and a real estate agent. A property developer organizes the renovation, gets the house ready, and then the real estate agent organizes the auction or tries to sell it. Both have connections and both will get you appointments or whatever to try and get you work. But a manager is generally more hands-on and a little bit more specific. And theoretically, a manager is supposed to be proactive and an agent is supposed to be reactive.
Right.
But there's a lot of crossover. And a conversation that I had with one of Chris Hemsworth's managers, and he said that it's just like a Venn diagram. Is it a Venn? Yeah, it's a Venn diagram. Like there's like two circles, that there's a crossover. Like, yes, they are like distinct positions, but there's a lot of crossover in things that generally a manager only takes care of and an agent takes care of. But ultimately,
so does your manager contact your agent, and does your agent contact your manager? Like, do they have a connection with each other?
Versa. I know that, like, I mean, my manager and my agent are like good friends, and they share a bunch of other clients. So I know that they speak to each other like every day, but I can't imagine that they're speaking just about me every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shit. Okay. So, at what point do you recommend you get a manager?
I guess that's like an every actor's like first goal. I think when they start acting, or at least when they move to LA. Like in Australia, you don't have a manager, you just have an agent because the industry isn't big enough to serve that. And I can imagine the same goes in Canada. Maybe you just have an agent, you don't necessarily have a manager too. I guess I've heard one business acting teacher, Dallas Travers, who does some good courses, by the way, for any actors out there listening, about it's not about craft or acting like abilities. It's just about like how to market yourself, basically. And she talks about that, while every actor's planned pathway is get a manager, get auditions, book some roles, get an agent, and then like work your way up. And then directors and stuff will eventually hear about you and make offers and stuff. She suggests going the other way around and just like, and don't care about casting directors, just like focus on your craft and be really good, but reverse the general pathway and just, develop relationships with producers and directors and writers first. And then eventually you'll have agents hearing about you and managers hearing about you and casting directors hearing about you.
Right. And that is probably a smart way, because then you can actually get like a good agent right away.
Yeah, well, they hear about, exactly. Like the ones available to a fledgling actor with no credits won't necessarily be able to do anything. So that person will have to make their own work or get their own heat their own way. And that only comes through getting each role is a bigger role in a better production. So that everything is sort of is building. And that, I guess, is what, to repeat the use of the word, is building a career. Because there's only so much reach that I guess mid-tier agents have, unfortunately.
Right. Well, how do you go about making a connection with directors, writers, producers, and stuff like that if you don't have an agent or a manager? Because you're talking about the reverse effect. How do you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, even if you do have an agent or a manager, the only way that you're going to have a connection with with producers and directors is through the audition process. If you get a callback, so you get you might have an audition with a casting director. Your agent or your manager sets up an audition. You have an audition with the casting director. It goes well, and so you have a callback with the producer or the director, and maybe they remember you.
Right.
If you flip it and you just reach out to producers or directors and develop relationships with them directly, excuse the pun, you, I guess, can bypass that process. But I guess the main way to do it is sort of through social media, and it's
networking.
Sort of,
really, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, and I mean the word networking has such a bad connotation, but I think that it's just really making friends, people that you want to collaborate with, people you want to work with. Don't look at it as asking for favors. See it as a partnership or as a collaboration. Right. And then eventually, I think if you're good and you focus on your craft, this is what's always been told to me, and this is the view that I've developed, then everything will sort of work out. But it really just comes down to just focusing on the work, and the work meaning craft and being a really good artist in whatever you're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Just keep plugging away, and you got to find what direction you want to go into. Because when you say you want to become an actor, I feel like that's so you know what I mean. It's such a huge spectrum of where you want to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, there's obviously so many different stories to be told, and I think that whatever your personality is, say if it's in your heart to be an actor, whatever your personality is going to align with the types of characters and the projects that you're going to be a part of. So yeah, if you're more of a comedy actor, you're going to end up just playing comedic roles. So you may as well carve out that niche and then build the first 5 to 10 years of your career on that. Right.
Focus on what you're really good at first, and then
also interested in too. Yeah.
And what you're interested in too. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Well, usually I feel like they're the same thing, unless you're completely, if they're not, then maybe you're a little bit delusional, or you need to check yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I mean, just going off me, man, I'd love to play oh man, I had a dream last night, dude. I was remaking The Mask.
With Jim Carrey?
Yeah, dude. I was they remade it for Netflix or whatever, and I was the guy. I was playing The Mask again, and I was just
cool. I can see that. Yeah,
dude,
yeah. Jim Carrey.
Yeah, and I just man. I was yes, that's exactly what I want. But I watched Gladiator 2 weeks ago with Russell Crowe. And I was man, fuck yeah, that'd be sick to play that character. So I mean, I think that it's I think that's what acting really is, though, right? That's what it can come down to,
Well, I guess the experience of watching a movie is different to filming it.
That's true.
It depends on if you were given the scripts for each of those roles, and then you read them out, and then you would know which one you gravitate towards more. It's not. I think the issue is. Not the issue, but the thing is not to be focused on what the end result is, because really all that matters is the experience of doing it, because you're not outside of yourself when you're watching it. You are that person or that playing that character. So it's whatever you want to experience while you're filming it or playing the character versus how you want to be perceived. Which I think is what a lot of people do, and a lot of the reasons why people initially want to be actors is because they want to be perceived as being cool or funny.
Right. Right.
Whereas it's very different to actually play those roles and go through the motions to actually embody those characters. And if people are focused on being cool and funny, then their performances probably just won't be very good.
Right. Yeah, that's true. And I mean, we've seen it with many actors.
Yeah, they come and go.
They come and go, right?
Yeah,
that's interesting, dude. That's sweet. What kind of actor would you say yourself? I
mean, I gravitate towards drama, basically. And
I can tell. I can tell by talking to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think ideally, I'd love to be in an Aaron Sorkin movie or in an Aaron Sorkin TV show. The West Wing or The Social Network. I really like content that makes people think critically about things in smarter ways. I love comedy, and I think there's a place for it. I just simply don't have. I'm not as a performer. I just don't have that in my body. I think I can be funny in the right material and stuff, and
Tom Hardy funny.
Yeah, maybe he's funny because he's intense, right? And he doesn't necessarily know that he's funny sometimes.
You seen that one with Chris Pine. Him.
Horrible Bosses. Oh no, This Means War.
Yeah, so it was filmed in Vancouver. Yeah.
He's funny because he's oblivious to the fact that it's a funny situation.
Right.
And he's so intense.
And I remember watching an interview on like on it, and it was him talking about like how he was just like so uncomfortable playing that character, and he's like,
Right.
it was really interesting to see that. I was like, really, he feels that uncomfortable playing that. And then for me, like when I think of like, I don't know, man, playing like in a play or something like that, I guess I can't connect with that to an extent. You know what I mean?
You mean like the serious roles?
Not so much the serious roles, man. I mean, I think I have a dark side to me a little bit. Like I'm a little bit of a psychopath, I think. I've realized that.
Yeah.
So
most actors are.
yeah. So playing like a, how do I say this, man? Pulling in the comedic acting, but tossing it into seriousness. And the only way I can relate to that, I guess, is like the Joker from Batman, where it's like he's obviously playing a serious character, but it's off a comedic sense. Do you know what I mean? I don't know how to really explain what I'm saying.
I mean, life is like, in tragedy, there's always elements of comedy and vice versa.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm trying to say, yeah.
So there's not, but ultimately like the tone and the experience will indicate what a genre or a performance predominantly is.
Right.
And that's also in the writing too. But I mean, even when Ben Stiller's in a drama, he's going to bring his comedic stuff to it. And when he's in a comedy, he brings his like sad clown thing to it as too.
Right.
So there's a bit of everything, I guess. But to go back to your original question about like the type of actor that I want to be and the content that I guess I want to be a part of, I think that that's a valid question that every actor should answer, because it just means that they're going to be specific in their choices day to day with how they spend their time on their craft if they're not working, and what they're going to be rehearsing in and stuff, so that they're the best version of that, like whatever it is they're aspiring to.
Right.
Yeah.
I could see you playing like a Joaquin Phoenix or something like that.
Oh, that's cool. Thanks.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think someone said before that like I could have done like Joaquin's role in Gladiator.
Yeah, that's what I was saying right now. Yeah, at this age for sure.
Yeah, which is really cool because those are the characters that I'm drawn to.
Yeah.
So it's cool that like I'm perceived in that way. Like I'm like, yeah, great. So what I'm interested in is aligned with how I'm perceived, and I think that's what's necessary for actors to do too.
And I think once everything is lined up, and as soon as your mindset is lined up with what you think is going to be the way it's going to be for you, and you understand it and accept it, I guess, I feel like that's when success starts to happen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, specificity attracts clarity,
right?
And clarity attracts specificity. And a lot of there's a tendency with acting or with actors being very general with what their goals are, and it doesn't necessarily mean like being in a blockbuster film in 12 months' time. I think those sorts of goals aren't. I mean, that would be great, and it's good to like chase that, but specificity and clarity with regards to like what you want out of your career and why you want to do it, and then that will attract the right energy and the right opportunities. Because then it's just if you're not specific on that, then you're just going to attract general results that maybe don't lead anywhere.
Right.
Or a manager won't. It's like, oh, like I don't like. But whereas if you're really hardcore about being a dramatic actor or whatever, then like in 6 months' time, your friend or a friend of a friend might be making like a Gladiator spoof or something, and they need an actor for the Joaquin Phoenix role. So if you've already sort of put that out there, then they're going to come back to you.
Right.
As a random example.
Right. So what's your goal for the next like 2 years? So you're in LA now, you have your green card, you're obviously making short films, your IMDb. How many credits you got? You got like 15, 16?
I don't know. Probably something like that.
Yeah, so you're obviously you're working as an actor. Are you a full-time actor? Are you making a living full-time acting?
I have a business as well, so I do I guess so. Like in the past year, like there's been stuff that I haven't really wanted to do. So I sort of call myself like a freelancer. And there's been times where acting has been like, yeah, it's been full time. And then for that year, that's been what I've been living off. But I guess it's like a combination of things. And I sort of like to see that as like a microcosm for what all actors have to end up doing. Like a lot of actors at the highest level make a majority of their money from endorsement deals, and then they do indie films that only make them like $20,000, and then the rest of their money, their mortgage, is paid for with appearances and modeling jobs
and
and
social media posts and stuff like
social
that.
media posts. Yeah. So I think that I look at if everything is funneled around acting and the lifestyle of pursuing or calling yourself an actor, then I see it as all sort of a part of the same process, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. So you're not like you're not the typical server.
No. Luckily, I've never had to do that. And I think that the great thing about LA is that, or at least the people that I've surrounded myself with, is that you don't have to. You just have to make a conscious choice not to do that and not to be sucked into that stuff. I think that that's where my education maybe has helped. But I also think that if you surround yourself with people in LA who maybe are not necessarily all actors, or some of them are entrepreneurial, that'll just force you to do similar things.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense, dude. That's awesome. Yeah. Sweet, man. I guess I don't really have any more questions for you. Hang on tight though. I do want to ask you something off the podcast, if that's cool.
Yeah, of course.
All right, one sec here. And go for it.
So we were talking about the fact that, or I mentioned how.
So hold on, sorry. Before we get into that, we just got off the air real quick. I just was asking you about podcast stuff, just because you have your own podcast, just like details that no one cares about. But then you said something about acting, which really blew my mind. I was like, wait, dude, I got to re-record that. So say it again. What did you just say?
I said that acting isn't your purpose. It's just one of the ways in which you show your purpose. And when I say you, like, I don't mean like you specifically, Zach. Like, I meant like just anyone, if anyone's an actor listening. And the same goes for any profession, I think. So if you're a comedic actor and you say you want to act because you want to make people laugh, and then you're also like, you happen to be a server or you work at a bar or whatever on the side, don't like look at them as separate. Look at them as all a part of your, daily life experience. Like, you can make people laugh in your acting class, you can make people laugh in your auditions, you can make people laugh in your sketches, and you can also make people laugh and entertain them at work when you're serving them. So you're living your purpose the whole way through. And I think that attitude helps with, one, not getting too down on your life, but also recognizing that your entire validation and reason for living, it doesn't just come from like the acting that you get to do once or twice a week if you're not working full time on a show. And my example was that I like to like make people think critically about things and ignite their empathy and unpack situations and in the world or in life or relationship situations. And so my main thing is, making people think and feel things that they haven't necessarily before. And so when I'm, in a drama scene or whatever, I think that, or I like to think that might come through with my performance. And then that's also aligned with like the content that I'm creating. But then that's also aligned with like my business and like everything else that I do outside of acting. So I don't sort of see them as mutually exclusive. I see that's just like my life, and then therefore my values are consistent, and you need to ground yourself in those values. So that way, that everything is like authentic and true to you.
Damn, dude, that is the realest shit I've ever heard. That literally, seriously, man, that like just like hearing that, I was just like, holy shit, man, that's exactly what I love doing. Like, you just literally answered it. And we're lucky enough to get a job as an actor to use the same skill set that we're doing in our life and have it on screen or whatever and get paid to do it. We're lucky enough to have that. That's the most important thing. Dude, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I appreciate it.
Oh, good, man. Thank you for having me.
And I'll have your Instagram link and your podcast link in the description.
Oh, sweet. Awesome. Yeah.
All right, dude. Cheers, man. Have a good one.
Thank you so much, dude.
Bam. We did it, guys. We got through another episode. If you made it through the entire thing, I love you so much. So thank you for that. I was talking to a buddy of mine, and he was saying, he's like, dude, you got to make sure that you're advertising that these podcasts are unedited and they are just, freestyled, and you don't even know the person when you first meet them. So, I guess I'll say it again here. Most of my guests on the podcast, guys, are people that I have literally DM'd or messaged a few times in my life and then have had them on, and I don't really know them. So when I'm meeting them, it's kind of like my first time really talking to them, and you guys are hearing it. So it's kind of like, when you first meet someone, you can't really joke around too much with them. You know what I mean? So, that's just how the conversation goes, You're meeting the person for the first time. Fuck's sakes, I just broke my pencil. God dang it. Yeah, so all these episodes, guys, are unedited, and I barely know the person when I first meet them. So yeah, thought I'd let you guys know that one last time. Yeah, so you guys have a great day. Keep doing your thing. I'm actually trying this boxing class today, which I'm super pumped about. My buddy, he's a boxing instructor. He's blown up down here as a personal trainer, so I'm gonna go check out one of his boxing classes that he has to offer. It's called Champs, and it's a cool little studio, man. It's getting quite a buzz here in Edmonton, I guess. And yeah, so I'm gonna try that out. And yeah, you guys have a great day. Keep doing your thing. Keep moving along. If you are listening to the entire thing, man, I love you guys. I can't thank you enough. You know, this is how this stuff starts. You know, you guys are the beginning people that are allowing this journey to come true. You know, you guys are the first supporters, and you know, hopefully one day you guys will be able to say, you know, I've been following you along since blah blah blah. You know, and it means a lot to me, guys. So I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. You know, it's just a privilege to be able to just sit down with people or just Skype with people and just, you know, have a full-on conversation with them. You know, it's that kind of stuff is rare these days. You know, you don't really see that so much. It's just a quick, you know, 15-second video on Instagram or Snapchat, or you read the news and Twitter, and it's, you know, you get these little messages inside your head, right? And they're not always the best. And just allowing myself to sit down with these people and just like have a normal full-on 2-3 hour conversation with no edits, nothing. Like if you say the wrong thing, just say sorry right away, you know, just be into the conversation. So yeah, just want to say thank you. I love you guys. Have a great day.